started traveling from New Zealand and eventually through America and going to workshops and sitting with lamas in Tibet and monks in Thailand to find out, well, there's got to be a real meaning to life here. And I found it in America through the soul contract reading work and connected to my true purpose there, and brought that work to the UK and have been developing it ever since. And I've had a progressively more and more powerful awakening and fulfilling life as I've aligned to my soul purpose, as I've discovered more. And so now my mission really is to help others uncover, align to and manifest their mission, their soul purpose, not what they were told to do at school or what society tells them, but to connect deep within to where the soul really wants to take them, a deep fulfilling place that we feel when we're aligned to our true purpose.
Could you tell me the feelings you had when you were working in the corporate world and you didn't know your purpose at the time? Could you just tell me how your life actually was?
I had a very high pressure life, working in the city in London and working on global telecommunication projects. And I felt I was very much bound by the system, which expected an awful lot from me, but it paid reasonably well. But after a while I found, well, actually I woke up one day on holiday feeling, after 7 years of doing that, I can't do this anymore. Even though it was a very good job, there's something else I'm really meant to do, and that was the beginning of detaching from the imprint of the matrix of what I should be doing to connecting to what I really wanted to do. And I wasn't sure what that was, but I just knew it wasn't staying in that job. So I left.
How did you find a transition? Because I think this is happening a lot with people. You know, they want to carve their path aligned with what they love and what they feel that they're here to do. But that transition can be tricky. So,
well, I turned
about your transition.
Yeah, I turned my part-time weekend spiritual practice, which I've been developing for 7 years in London, into a weekend-based one, into a part-time one. I negotiated sort of to work only 2 or 3 days at my job, and so I was winding down the projects I was on there. And the other 2 or 3 days, I would develop this business. And then it still wasn't clear to me that I was really going to do this. I just started doing it, and then I left. But I needed a break to decompress, so I went traveling in Central America and South America and going to all the sacred sites, and into India in the Himalayas. Spirit wanted me to have a high-level transmission. Did that for about 6 months. And then I was still searching for the important thing to do. I was 37 then, and there was no big slab of stone saying, thou shalt go off and run a teaching business or something like that. But basically I followed my nose, and I was sitting in New Zealand because I thought I'd be at Christmas. And I thought I would...
Sorry about this. I don't know what's
happening. Yeah, I thought I would... what I would do is I would come back to England. It became clear to me I needed to come back to England. And then once I landed here, because everything sort of worked out, I just got my cousin just gave me their flat, or handed it over to me. So I didn't even look for a flat. It turned up, and 2 days later I had a flat. They said, "Oh, we're leaving the country, so do you want it?" I said, "Yeah." And
instant manifestation. It
was really quick. And then I started turning this part-time practice into a full-time practice, which was a very big learning curve. It was a bit scary, having had a big corporate handbook on how to do things. So I learned how to run this business the hard way. But we're still going 22 years on.
Yeah.
And the process of learning how to run this business, I actually learned a lot about myself and just grew more in consciousness and basically uncovered step by step my mission. It wasn't all presented to me in one go. It was just things would develop for a while, then another realization would come, I get clear, then another one until I got this urge to write my book, Your Soul Contract Decoded, which became an Amazon #1 bestseller because it was an urging from spirit, and I got better at following it. And I had met Almira Ariel Hilaire, who we created the Centre for Conscious Ascension together, and we were life and business partners. So that expanded the work, and I had the urge to write this book in 2012, got published in 2013, and everything just unfolded with a lot of synchronicity. So just following what we call the spiritual signature, the flow, what opened my heart in each moment, because it had been closed for most of my life, my heart. It was opening. So I just followed my nose, and then new and wonderful things opened up, many unexpected things, many strong lessons in the process as well. But I learned a lot, and out of all that strong experience, which we all have down here, it molded me to where I run a business which teaches globally now, online, and a much more fulfilling, aligned life. I wake up in the morning thinking, okay, we're going to have a good time today. We're going to teaching people, or working sessions, or run some webinars like this.
Yeah, just awesome.
Yeah, it's a lovely life, and I get paid for it, and I do what I love doing. So and it's quite a comparison to what I used to do, working for someone else. It's a different world.
I mean, I think it's a big thing at the moment, purpose, because not just spiritual businesses and coaches and healers are talking about it. It's like talking about it corporatively as well, and beyond, in business and everything. So I think the key here is really for people to understand that there is a path, even if it seems hard to overcome or get clarity on it. It's to follow your nose, follow your prompts, and try to follow your intuition and trust it, really, because we're meant to do what we came here to do. It's only really the mind and the ego stopping us, right?
Yeah, I've got a little diagram to demonstrate how that works, so I'm just going to show that now to make it a bit clearer. What I discovered in the process here. So I'll share the screen here.
Yeah, lovely, thank you.
All right, so this is what we call the spiritual map of life, and I'm going to find the right color here. So initially, when we start off, when I was just still in the corporate world, and I was just starting to wake up spiritually, the blue dot's my little ego. I was very much in my left brain trying to figure it all out as I was trained. I trained as an engineer a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I was following the path of my ego, the path of suffering, which is what I call this little dotted line here.
Yeah.
Life was challenging. Life was very demanding. And then as I started to expand my consciousness here into the vastness of my spirit, because it's not just us in the third dimension, it's here all the way to the source through the higher dimensions. And I started to heal myself. I started following what we call the spiritual signature, the path of bliss. And the Buddha talks about the path of suffering. And the spiritual signature is a dark, heavy line here. And this line is where, in each moment, there's one right action which comes from feeling the heart. What opens it the most? And this takes a lot of practice and healing and clearing. So gradually, I was starting to converge more and more of the time, following the spiritual signature. What is the next right action? It's taken many years. But as I converged on it and became more conscious of the feeling of a heart opening, because my heart had been very closed because of childhood, life started to open and flow. So I was actually aligning with the signature here, where my soul wanted to go. So I've evolved into living life in the moment and doing what feels right next. And I used to have these business plans and of how to run this business. And because it was all with my left brain, half it never worked.
No.
But now what happens is that then Almira taught me to follow the heart. Then what happened then is things started to flow. You say this right thing in the right moment, you contact the right person, you deliver the right workshop at the right time. So this is about shifting from following the path of suffering, the ego, to the path of spirit. And that's actually how we get to true purpose. It comes from within us. And it's about getting emotionally clear enough of all the ego programming, enough ego programming to be able to feel that signature. And the more we can feel it, the easier life flows, because when you do take the right action, life opens. Doors keep opening. You don't get the roadblocks that most of us have when we're younger, continuing as we get older.
Mm.
This is what I'm talking about here.
Very good.
Aligned purpose.
So, I mean, the thing is, the dropping into the heart, we always get the right answers. So it's this alignment with spirit is really, we start with the heart.
Yeah.
And opening up, right?
Yeah.
So good way of doing that is meditation. And we discussed in the previous shows as well.
Yeah, meditation, opening to higher consciousness.
Yeah.
Doing your emotional work is really important. This is what I call the ego onion. This is pure love that we are, the soul. Mm-hmm. And this is our ego onion. Mm-hmm. It's about, as we try and do our best to follow the spiritual signature and align to our soul purpose, we peel the onion with healing. Mm-hmm. We use divine healing for that, but you can use all sorts of forms of healing.
Sure.
But as you peel that, your access to the flame of consciousness gets easier and clearer. And that's where life starts to flow better. So if you're on the spiritual path, life is flowing better. You're getting younger because there's less, or you're aging better because there's a lot less of this onion to peel. And therefore there's a lot less drag weight, karmic drag weight for moving forward.
Well, you wake up feeling free and empowered.
Yeah.
You know, I remember when I first started training with you and Almira, there was a lot to clear, in the beginning. But as I became an expert, it kind of is easy now. It's like you just clear it and you just move on. Most of the day is great. And this is another thing I'd like to encourage people that are listening, thinking, oh my goodness, I have so many things I need to clear. But it's like, okay, well, it might feel a little bit tough in the beginning because you're thinking, oh, there's lots of stuff coming up for me. But as you go, it will get less and it gets easier. I think it's just to pay attention as well.
It's about just learning to be present and moving out of our very busy left brains into moving into the heart and becoming very grounded and present with what is in the moment. Because 90% of what this worries about, the left brain, never happens. And focusing on being present with the feeling of where spirit wants to take us, because if we do that more and more and follow its flow, that's when the wonderful things turn up in life. There will be challenges along the way to get this clear, but it's worth it, because our higher self has a plan. It's not some random thing, life, that we're trying to stumble around and work through. There's actually a plan to have a specific type of experience here. And the more you align with it, the easier it's going to get. Yeah. But also more fulfilling, actually. Not to say becoming a karma, it's going to get more fulfilling. And that's where it's a very joyous experience. I had that teaching a self-contract reading training level 3 just this past weekend, where the flow went really well and everyone really got the work. And I was high for a good 24, 48 hours from it because I was in the flow.
It's just wonderful feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then also the ability to connect to joy and these ecstatic feelings become much easier as well as the layers are getting peeled off, because you're accessing the true essence and the true sparks of the divine, really.
Yes.
And then you feel great. There's no better way to feel. Nothing else could beat it.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. I wanted to talk a little bit about, we can find our purpose through many different experiences in life. And the first part I'd like to talk about is like journey of life itself. And can we just go into that a little bit and what that looks like? Because we get born, and then journeying in life itself will get us closer to our purpose if we're listening. Could you just explain?
Initially, we're designed to go to sleep as much as possible. We forget that we come from source, from the divine. And then as our personalities are created brand new each lifetime. And as our personality forms and we awaken, and we get used to life, the soul starts to trigger our karmic patterns. And these karmic patterns create a lot of what we don't like in life initially. That's why they seem strong when we're younger. But what the soul's actually doing is it wants us to get clear what we don't like. Therefore, we focus on what we do want to do. So we didn't have this, what I call a negative context from our karma turning up. Then we wouldn't focus on the particular direction we wanted to go. Like, for example, I felt very unworthy to be loved when I was younger. So my direction was to learn to be worthy to be loved. And I felt very disempowered. So I then sought how to come into my power. And those two things are all about delivering, in my case, empowerment of others. Because as I said earlier, my mission is to help others, catalyze others to manifest their mission, discover and manifest their mission. And then the worthiness to be loved was a worthiness also to teach, to share, to communicate. The knowledge coming from my soul. So it was very difficult and challenging for many years, still is at times, when I have a layer of programming coming out. But the lesson is to turn into the program and feel it and bring consciousness to it, whereas our egos are very pain avoidant. They don't want to feel the pain of anything. So therefore we get stuck in the same old patterns, and it gets tiring after a while.
Very draining.
Very draining. That's why people who don't work on themselves spiritually get older faster, because the programming is wearing them out. Basically.
More wrinkles.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like
pretty
more,
much.
because it's more heavy sort of programming and patterning and energy that is hanging there, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. That's why spiritual people look younger when they work on themselves, because they're dropping their density, their program.
Or the spiritual people that's worked on themselves.
Yeah. The quickest way to youth is to work on drop your programming, clear your programming.
Drop the programming, yeah.
Yeah. So feeling consciousness to the program is the key, and transforming it. And we identify the programming with the soul contract reading work, which is a Hebrew numerology, and then we clear the programming with a thing called divine healing at the center for conscious ascension, which is using the higher self to peel that ego onion I just showed you.
I mean, I use divine healing every day, so it's the key for me. It's the key to go forward anywhere. You know, it will never let me down. So it's magical, really. But there are other ways to clear.
There's also other tools as well.
Like clear from exercise, you know, just kind of to clear some blockages out and limiting beliefs, and you know, you can clear with other things. Now, the other thing is, let's talk a little bit about growing from our mistakes. Although, in a way, I don't like to call it mistakes, but challenges and things that we've been exposed to, so that we grow from it. It may feel like we're making mistakes, but actually they're just part of the growth. So let's talk a little bit about that.
There are no mistakes ultimately. It's just, we all think that someone else's life is better and the grass is greener on the other side. I wish we hadn't done that or said that. But every challenging karmic experience, or quote mistake, or mistake within the context of a karmic experience, is a learning process. We learn wisdom. We learn to do something a bit better next time. So it's important not to judge ourselves, because the judgment of our ego, which is usually quite strong, holds in the programming. It's like, okay, that happened, and yes, that was pretty life-changing. Wish I hadn't done that. But here's what I learned. And it's about taking what you learned and then using it as a foundation to grow, become wiser, more conscious for the next step in life. So it's about being grounded in the present moment rather than looking back at the past and saying, I wish I hadn't done that big thing or said that. Because it's all about learning here, and it's an intense learning experience coming into these human avatars. When we're in a body, we learn much faster, which is why there's a queue upstairs in the high dimensions to come in, even though we wish, what am I doing here?
I
pushed myself to the front of the queue, must have been balmy. But the intensity is what we need, because we grow faster. So it's all about growth in consciousness, which is the soul comes for, and to increase the proportion of unconditional love within us. That's the whole purpose of this. So that's why mistakes create this intensity for us.
I think a good way to you can always look at the silver lining in every experience you have. You could even write it down, actually. If something felt challenging, you would have learned there would have been something good coming out of it. And to name that, I think it's a good thing to do, because you're owning it and you're feeling, actually, this was really worthwhile.
It doesn't seem like that at the time often. It's like, oh my God, that was horrific, that experience. But actually, with a bit of time and a bit of healing, you look back and realize, actually, I learned to become empowered there, or I learned to deal with my dark side, or I learned to become worthy, or set firmer boundaries, or trust. Let go playing the role of the victim. It could be all sorts of really strong patterning, which we feel
or the rescuer, or, something like that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because there's lots, we take on many different roles, and being able to let go of stories as well about how
they're ultimately stories of the ego, and we get very attached to our story and we get invested in it, which makes it even harder to let go. But we're just one great story. It's just a play down here playing out, and ultimately none of it's really real. Just that we feel it's real, because if we didn't, we wouldn't engage with it as strongly as we do.
And I feel as well, the truth is, with the purpose of life, is that once you're tapping into this, you can rewrite your story, right?
If you can get to the core programming that created the original story in the ego that's not true, clear it, pull it out at the roots, layer by layer, then you can create a new life. You can create a new story. But it's not overnight. It takes, you've got to work at it. You've got to be focused, dedicated, turn into your deepest pain in the karma, feel it and transform it. Then you get the more fulfilling, aligned life. So it does take work. There's no instantaneous solution. There are no shortcuts.
No.
You cannot pay for it on the internet and get it done for you. You've got to do the work, basically.
Yeah, you've got to do the work. I think it's like with anything, we talked about being spiritually fit before, but if you commit to, let's say you get a new job and you need to learn new things to get a better pay rise or whatever, or a promotion, you keep improving, right? You're not going to just stay in one position. This is the same thing with life. If we keep investing in our growth, our whole life will grow. So
keep pushing the envelope in a sustainable way to enhance all the parts of ourselves.
Exactly. So so we talk about growing, about the mistakes. I wanted to talk about what's happening on Earth at the moment, because there's so much light and so much we're getting blasted in the ascension process, so much light entering our cells that it's getting pushed on all our ego programming. So everything's like coming up to the surface. But I'd like to talk a little bit about, if you can talk a little bit about having the right people around you. Once you're getting into a purpose, having the right people around you, having a team or friends or accountability or a mentor, teachers, healers, and the importance of this tribe culture as we're coming into the purpose.
Yeah, as light workers, because there are like 2 to 3% of the world's population are light workers, high frequency souls. We volunteer to come here to Earth to raise consciousness of the majority of the population. We don't have to embody anymore, but we do this as part of our service to raise consciousness in life, because we're all ultimately sparks of the divine that forgot who we were. And the purpose of life on the planet is to have that forgetfulness, play this what we call a game of separation from spirit, then remember who we are, which is the divine, little sparks of God embodied. And we come in here with a default programming of, if I can't find anyone else like me, which is how it feels when we're younger, like our family feels like a bunch of aliens, because usually they're less conscious than us, then I'll do this all by myself. So at least I'll make some contribution to raising human consciousness to the ascension process. But then, as we get clear enough on our ego by doing everything we've just described in the past half hour, then what starts to happen is that the team members start to turn up.
Yes.
Through pre-arranged, pre-incarnational agreements, and we come down as ascension teams with specialties will often come down into specific parts of the earth and meet them at the right time. They're triggered because we have energetic cords. We have a substance called karmic matrix that trigger at a certain time. Then we manifest certain team members to turn up. And there's a sense of great familiarity because you've done this before in past lives, just that you're in a different body. It takes a little while to get used to each other. And then you start to realize they have complementary pieces for me to carry out my mission. And so what tends to happen is that they form, if you're aware of what you're doing, you form a team, and everyone has a unique piece of the puzzle. And if you can find your entire team, which will reveal itself over time, then the mission is massively multiplied in terms of its impact on consciousness.
Absolutely.
Because we can't be good at everything. So let's be good at a few things, and someone else can do the other really good stuff.
Exactly. And this is where, this is what I'm trying to teach my community, that if you feel a soul recognition with someone, it means something,
Oh, yeah.
It's like, wow, you've got to go on that. You've got to go with that because your soul has just gone, oh, I know you. I don't have lots of those, but I've got quite a few people like that in my life that turned up like that.
Yeah.
You being one of them. But it's like, you're home.
Yeah, you find your true community because the way that life has evolved in the Western world is that industrialization for the past couple of hundred years has broken up previously very tight village-based communities, which have been were there for thousands of years, and people got shifted off to factories and housing in cities, and so community was basically destroyed. And so therefore there's a lot of people living together in big cities now, but actually not many people know their neighbors that well, and they're not really bonded together in a true community in the old sense of the word. So what we're actually doing is that we're finding our spiritual community and reconnecting. And most of my community lives within an hour or two of me here just outside London, and we're all literally down the road. You and I just down the road from each other.
Yeah.
And so
5 minutes.
yeah, so that's just the way it worked out.
Yeah.
So we gravitate to certain parts of the earth to carry out our mission.
Yeah.
And then we find our team, and then the impact of the group mission is enormously powerful.
Absolutely.
But it gives us people we can just be ourselves around. We don't have to pretend to be human or be more 3D or dumb down what we're going to say. We can say what we really want to say and felt heard and seen. It's very nurturing for a light worker because you can get very isolated and lonely down here if you don't find anyone like yourself. And it's no good trying to drop your frequency to be like everyone else because it's totally unfulfilling. So it's about maintaining your
feel sad.
Yeah,
it makes you feel that you don't belong. Personally, I had that experience previous in life. I mean, that's not the situation now and has not been for many years. But prior to that, when I was like trying to break out of my shell, was the problem. I'd felt isolated. I didn't know really where I belonged. But there is a tribe for everybody.
Yeah, everyone has their tribes. It's about finding your tribe and being open and showing yourself to the world, and then they will come to you. When you hit a certain threshold of your evolution and development of your spiritual gifts, whether it's through a business or whatever it is, then they start to turn up, and then you can start to co-create together. So the power of it is enormous. If you had 17 members, it's 2 to the power of 7, the impact in terms of like number of people, because the synergy of a group consciousness is much greater than one individual doing it all. And then you can start to do this, focus on things you love doing. Like I love teaching, I love writing, I like sharing knowledge. And so then I have, we do these shows together. This is fun. I have, we build consciousness racing software with a soul contract work. I have specialist web designers who are into, developers who are into this sort of work. So they bring all their expertise and do things I have no idea how to do, and get the work out there, you see. So it's wonderful working in a team. It has issues, obviously, but it's like creating something together.
Yes.
And it's got a life of its own, the whole thing. It's like you can see there's a big plan. There's a grand plan from the high dimensions for this, and it's about plugging in and just getting on with it.
Yeah. No, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. So Another thing that I'd like to talk about, this is about giving back to the world. So we can give back to the world before, we have a team. But like when you have a team and the power of the group, this is when something really quite magical can happen about giving back the service to the world and help as many as possible. So let's go a little bit in talking about the actual true gift and the true reward is being able to do this and have a good time, right?
Yeah, I think it's because it's still a money-based economic system here.
Yeah,
we've got to meet our basic needs financially.
absolutely.
But then as we build momentum with our businesses, it can be time to give a little bit back. Sometimes I give away free workshop places to people, or charge some people for a session, or get it at a discount because I know they really need it. And if they did use it, then I know they're going to make a difference in consciousness because they're going to hand up, and then because they feel more worthy because they received something from me, which wasn't, say, full price, then they go off and help someone else. So then it sort of propagates.
Yes.
So it's giving back to the universe, giving back to higher consciousness because it provides everything we have.
Yes.
We keep the flow going, but not from a sense of expecting it to come, but just from a sense of, because we're all one and giving to ourselves. When we give to someone else, we're actually giving to ourselves. It takes a while to emotionally get our heads around that because we do feel separate because we're in these bodies.
Well, I think it's a fine balance to, you need to manage yourself energetically, because we all have to live and make a good living and feel safe and secure here in the world. But when we start giving unconditionally, that, I mean, really does open up a huge flow of just, it just feels great. But the key is obviously not to overdo that, so you drain yourself, because it needs to be in balance with what you receive.
Yeah, you've got to save some for yourself.
You've got to save some for yourself. But the magic really is when you are able to do that and just go, here you go, I'd love to help you. And I think that's a nice place to be able to, or strive for, to go for. I mean, I encourage everyone doing a business to have some sort of, not voluntary, but something that they can give away as well, as serving, being paid.
Yeah, sometimes I take people out for lunch or dinner, and I just pay for it all, but it's not from the sense I'm going to get something back, because that means I'm limiting the flow, but just because I want to share something unconditionally. Yeah. But I do know in the back of my mind it'll increase the flow.
Yes.
But I'm doing it out of love, really. So it takes a little while initially. We do these things, so we consciously think, okay, that'll improve the business, but it's like the right, just because I want to do it. Yeah. But it's not so strong, the expectation. So you've sort of got to gradually let go of the expectation. And the more you let it go, the more that comes. Yeah. I think it's about letting go of anything, actually, any attachment.
It's rewarding. I just did a free session before we started, just for half an hour, and I knew there was nothing in it for me, but I felt for this person, and I just gave everything I could in that 30 minutes, and I just said, look, let me see how you get on. Yeah. Like, that was it. And I feel really good. I feel really buzzy.
Yeah.
So yeah. Cool. Now I want to talk a little bit about the Ikigai, which is a Japanese model or way of life, which incorporates a lot of different parts of your life. It's not like the life wheel or life coaching. It's kind of a little bit more extended. So,
okay, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So, in Japan, they place a lot of emphasis when you're younger and trying to find your way in the world to find out where your Ikigai is. And this is a place where this is the intersection of doing what you love, which intersects with what the world needs, what you can be paid for, which is currently the way the world works, and what you're good at. And the idea is that trying to get to the central place here of overlapping all four circles But most of us, most people start with, okay, what you can be paid for. All right.
Mm.
And hopefully you're good at it, so you have a profession.
Mm.
Yeah. Or what the world needs and what you can pay for, you get a vocation. All right. Or what you're good at.
Could we say mission is / purpose, really? Can't we?
Mission is an intersection of what you love doing and what the world needs. It's a mission. And if it's what you love doing and what you're good at, it's a passion.
Yeah.
And you might not get paid for these guys.
No.
Okay. So if you, depending on what it is.
It'd be nice to be paid for that, though.
So the idea is to try and drop it down to here, where all of them are intersecting.
They're all together.
What I do? The world needs awakening.
Mm.
Okay. I love doing it.
Mm.
Hope I'm reasonably good at it. Had a bit of practice now. And people are prepared to pay for it. So most of the time I'm sitting in here.
Yes.
Which is why I had a very high day yesterday, feeling like, because all this was happening on this training.
Yeah.
And I had a little bit of that when I was in the corporate world initially for a while, but my consciousness shifted. And I decided I actually didn't want to do that anymore. So I didn't love it anymore.
No. Okay,
so it became back to a profession here, really.
Yeah.
So what they do is that in Japan they encourage younger people to go and find out what all these are, and that can be through direct life experience. So eventually they're moving around like this, and they get to this, and to take time to get to that. We're very much with the Western education system, and you see my son go through it, focused on going into a profession. To go and be a worker in the matrix. But actually it says nothing about, well, what are you passionate about? What do you love? What does the world need? There's no stepping back to look at this. It's about, okay, here are a bunch of slots you can go into. If you can fit into it, go and train in this, and then I'll give you a job maybe, if you're lucky, at the end of this training, say university or wherever. And then you just go off and do that. There's nothing which talks about what the world needs, what do you love doing. And I found it fascinating going to the University Open Days. The common message was, find out what you love doing first, then figure out what you're going to study, rather than just looking at what a profession was.
Where was this, did you say?
This was at some of the University Open Days I went to when I was in England, trying to pick a university for my son with him.
But that's not too bad then.
I thought that's pretty enlightened, and that was some of the first things I would say.
Exactly, because that's actually, if you can feel excited and you feel passionate about something, as long as it's got as a viable business idea, then you can go for it. Pretty much.
So I never heard that before. Stepping into
good. That's progress to me.
Progress. I thought these guys are a bit more awake than I thought they were.
That's really cool.
So often on the spiritual path, we need to try lots of different things to deprogram ourselves from what the Matrix tells us we should be doing. Like get a profession. I left my profession very early because I didn't like it. Which is, that's a no-no. But now I'm doing this. I'm doing what I love doing. And life is much more satisfying. So it's about finding out what is that. Because everyone has that somewhere. The question is spending the time to actually discover what it is, and obviously learning how to create that. It could be working for someone else. Not everyone's designed to work for themselves. It could be running your own business, which takes a lot as well, but it gives you sovereignty and autonomy to make a difference when you run your own business. Or you work for a visionary organization that is doing this anyway, doing all of this.
Oh yeah, you can get a lot of fulfillment with the right.
You can get a lot of fulfillment that way. So it's just a matter of what your right place is, and we get back to being grounded and present with what opens the heart in each moment. And if we get clear enough emotionally, then our soul will take us there.
Absolutely.
Rather than sort of figuring it out with the left brain, which leads to the path of suffering. So it's available to everybody. If you get the right tools and follow the flow of the heart, you can actually get to this. Something very fulfilling.
It's a very peaceful space. I mean, I would probably say that I'm there. I've discovered this show lately, which makes me really excited. So there's obviously another sort of just tied to, to what I'd like to do with what I already do. But yeah, very exciting. It feels like a very peaceful space to be in.
Yeah.
Okay, now this is really juicy. So for those who hasn't had a soul contract reading or doesn't know what it is, or maybe have just heard of it, it's a sacred numerology that decodes your life through decoding the sound of the name. So it's actually a vibration, your name. And when we decode this, we get these numbers, and they mean different things depending on where they are in your chart. So we can go in deeper, but we want to do a numerology chart of John F. Kennedy, which well, he passed away many years ago. But the idea I had with this, I spoke to Nicholas about this, and I said, why don't we do the chart of someone like this and explain his purpose and how things played out for him in his life, and how true it was really to, you know, to his chart. So his life was very true to his chart. So yeah, please tell us more. Maybe thinking now that some people doesn't even know what this is, Nicholas. Make a very small breakdown.
Okay. All right. So this is John Fitzgerald Kennedy, who was probably one of the most famous American presidents. So what we've done to find out what is the core program and what we call his soul contract that's creating his life by the law of attraction is that we've converted his name to the equivalent Hebrew sounds here. Because we use Hebrew here. We use 22 Hebrew sounds, and we get these Hebrew numbers, which we decode on the Star of David.
Yeah.
And the Star of David has both a physical and a spiritual component. And it also has, within each one of these, we have karma or lessons, mistakes if you want to call it that, talents, and goals in the physical outer world and within the spiritual world. And we do some maths here, which we don't have time to go into in detail, but basically we calculate all these different aspects here, these 6 outer aspects, and we then calculate the soul destiny in the middle as a result of the life purpose, the purpose of the show. So if you become conscious of what these 6 outer aspects are, then you can, and you work on them consciously over time, you can then manifest your purpose, and the purpose will be revealed gradually, layer by layer, as I was describing in my own experience. So for John Fitzgerald Kennedy, we have in his chart here, we have bridging it are these 9s here, and the 9 is the dragon, and it's in karma and goals. So what it means is that his life was all about the proper use of power. He came from a very powerful, wealthy family who had misused power in the past. So he was here to learn to use power properly in the role as president. And that was the major thing he was looking at. And he was trying to take care of people, which is the 13 form soul destiny. The purpose of his life was to embody and express the divine feminine energy by taking care of others, sharing the flow of the divine feminine here. And he was a great speaker, which is the 5, speaking great truth, which is the symbol here. And he didn't come to Earth very often, which is the 8. This is like a little amoeba. So he was a real pioneer with his 5. You know, he's talking about going to the moon, and you know, his speeches were very inspiring. He had a very powerful voice, which comes from the 5. And he was a great communicator. He would absorb a lot of knowledge with the 12, and he'd really communicate it with his 3. That's why his speeches are so famous. And the 6 here was great focus. He tried to do all sorts of radical things to improve life, and he was greatly loved because of this, trying to take care of everybody. And because he was from a very privileged background, it was difficult for him to be grounded and connected to what everyday life was for some people, which is the 8 here. He found it difficult. All right, but you know, he was trying, and he had a lot of this power of the nines was necessary to be in one of the most powerful jobs in the world, because you need enormous power to be able to hold that job, because the pressures are so enormous, given you're the leader of the free world, if you want to call it that. So this chart here showed that his purpose was to overall open people's hearts and look after everybody, but doing it with a lot of dragon power here, and with a lot of incredible oratory and inspiration, vision. This is his vision here, to make a difference in the world. And the 3 shows he was a natural leader as well.
Yeah, and the teacher. With the 5s as well, Nicholas, it's very much like past lives would have been you've been executed and killed for speaking the truth.
Yes.
Right?
And it happened again.
And it happened again.
Yeah, it happened again.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was going to reveal the truth about extraterrestrial presence on Earth. And that was actually what got him killed in the end. Plus, there are other things as well, but that's actually what happened. He got, That
and I mean, the 34 was of the. To be honest, I remember when you first taught me this whole contract, you said that the 13-4, it wasn't very common. You don't see it much in older people. Like it wasn't. It's an energy that's coming in much more now because we're racing in frequency. So maybe a soul destiny of 13-4 was quite special.
Well, back in the 60s, yeah. Back in this time.
He was born in 1917.
Yeah.
You know, it's so at that time. I don't want to go into statistics, but you know, I know this from you've been talking about the 13-4, the energy of the Christ consciousness energy is something that's coming in much more now in awakening. So he was well ahead of his time.
Oh, he was a pioneer. He was probably decades ahead of his time, but someone's got to do the job.
Yeah.
To raise consciousness. So this is why he came. Yeah.
And that's why he came. So I mean, you can see that there. Yeah, amazing. Cool. And then obviously he got killed, but that could also be a 9 with a.
Well, I think there were, where he was speaking the truth, and but you can get, this is about destruction here as well, self-destruction. He spoke the truth, and then it got him killed.
Yeah.
About to speak the truth and got him killed. Yeah.
Just destructive as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was very good. Now I'm going to check in if there's any questions. We like questions. I really hope that there's going to be some questions. So there's nothing on the Zoom yet. So Zoom participants, please, any questions will be great. You're very welcome to drop them. And I'm going to look at Facebook, see what's happening here. Any questions? Okay, so there's no questions there either. Well, that's okay. I might come up with a question. Let's check the Zoom again if there's anything. So anyone listening now? No questions. Now, how are we going to do with this draw then?
Well, I think you've just got to pick someone from the list, Jenny, or pick a number 1 to 5, or 1 to 4 probably.
So we've got. Why don't you pick one? Because you're the one giving away the.
I think I'm getting Jen.
Cool.
Okay, so Jen, you've just won a soul contract reading report. It'll be a written report which will describe in great detail what you've actually what your life purpose is. There'll be 70 pages of it. Okay, it's a little treat for you. So
wow, thank you.
Yeah, so Jenny will contact you because we need to get some information off you, like your birth name, birth certificate name, and your date of birth.
Yeah.
And then we will have to we'll generate that report and send it to you as a PDF. So it's you need to prepare yourself. It's very in depth. It's very powerful. It'll probably change your life completely, but that's what we're here to do. And hopefully, you'll discover more about your life purpose and what your karmic patterns are, how to work through them, what your talents are, you need to bring online if you haven't already, what your goals are, both physically and spiritually. So congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations. So Jen, your name is maybe longer, I'm sure, but from the email list, I'll find you and I will, she's very excited. I'll find you and I'll email you just with what we need. So if that's all right, so just check out for that email, probably later on tonight.
Yeah, so for anyone else watching this,
oh yes,
if you would like to find out about what your soul contract is, you can find out more about the tools we talked about, soul contract reading and divine healing, with the website link, yourawakeningtoolkit.com.
I'm going to put it in there actually. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you want to do it yourself, you can get my book, Your Soul Contract Decoded, which is an Amazon #1 bestseller, which explains the soul contract reading work. And you can generate your soul contract chart just like you saw from John Fitzgerald Kennedy on the website soulcontractreader.com. Okay. Eventually, we plan to be able to make the birth reading, which Jen's going to get available online. But at the moment, we're still doing things are under development. But we thought we'd try it out tonight and see. It will eventually be available under soulcontractreader.com. At the moment, you can just get charts, but you'll be able to get readings in the near future.
Cool.
We'll make more public announcements about that when the time is right.
Very exciting times to come. Nicholas, we have a question.
We do.
Yes. So
okay.
Peter is saying, how much should we listen to others' stories telling us what we are good at versus our own thoughts?
Well, we often ask other people what's going on because they may have more knowledge and more specialty in a certain area which can help us. I still do that. I still seek help. And then it's a matter of discerning out of that, well, what's true for you? What opens your heart, Peter? Because the mind can fool us very easily, because the mind gets things wrong 50% of the time, which is not good odds. So half the time you're thinking about something, you're probably drawing the wrong conclusion. For example, you read a text from someone which is emotionally charged, and we often draw the wrong conclusion. When we talk to them, it was a completely different issue they're really talking about. So it shows you how fallible the mind is. So if you're getting an inner communication, it's about trying on the idea in your heart. If it opens your heart the most, then that's probably true. If it doesn't open your heart, then it's the mind probably messing with you. That's about the best answer I can give to that.
Yeah, that's very true. Give yourself also a break, maybe, to when you've been told something, digest it.
Yeah.
So don't react on it straight away. Kind of go and sit on it, and then it will come. Any more questions? Let's see. Not any there. I'll check in on Facebook if there's any questions there. Not at the moment. Okay, that's fine. Spirit obviously wants us to finish on time, like at 6 o'clock. That's fine. So there's time for another question if anyone wanted to answer or ask any questions. That would be fine. Zoom attendees, I've dropped Nicholas' details, and I've also dropped you a freebie, which is from me. Welcome to have it. I'm going to do the same with Facebook, so I'm going to do that now. Well, I'll do it probably after we finish this. All right, so thank you very much, Nicholas. That was great.
Okay, thank you for having me, Jenny, and congratulations to Jen. Oh, yeah, we'd be interested to see your feedback, Jen, on how you find the text-based birth chart reading as part of our development process, so you can help our team out. Yeah,
she will. I'll put all that in the email because we want some feedback, don't we? And then at the moment, this is for the Ascension Live Show, carrying on. I have my next guest the 4th of March. So I'm having a small break, 3 weeks, but I will be, online still. So, and that will be all about the new Earth. So bringing more light into the new Earth. And I have a special guest, which I will reveal later this week. Making invitations. Okay. So thank you everyone for watching, and thank you, Nicholas. I'll catch you soon. Everyone else, if you need anything from myself or Nicholas, just drop us a message or an email.
Okay, thanks, Jenny. Thanks,
Cool.
everyone, for
Thank you.
listening. Enjoy.
Yeah, enjoy. Take it easy, everyone.
Align to your purpose.
Yes, align to your purpose. See you soon.
Okay,
Bye.
thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.